I hope you're all so excited to continue Samatvam. Like usual, I'm going to do my test real quick. I'm sure the audio is fine, but we want to be so sure. I hope you're all having a great Friday. TGIF, as they say. TNIF, thank nature that it's Friday. Quit resisting. There he is, our buddy Jay. How's his audio today? Check, check. Test, test.
That it's Friday.
Okie dokie. It's great. So that's wonderful. Now we'll get that music rocking. And maybe we'll do another one of those fun little oracle reads, huh? Bust out that prayer cards real quick. See what the saints have in store for us. All right. So on a Friday, what do we got? Okay, sick. Prayer to Saint Joan of Arc, patroness of service women, most extraordinary soldier. You insistently proclaim, let God be served first. You began by winning many victories and receiving the plaudits of princes. But then you were given to the enemy and cruelly put to death. And still in us the desire to serve God first and perform our earthly tasks with that idea ever in our minds. Amen. And let's not forget that God is the self that these swamis are talking about. That true self, that Jnani. All right. So today, most of these chapters are like really short. So we're going to probably knock through like four of them. One of them is a little on the longer side, but still it's not terrible. So that's the plan, and we're sticking to it. And we'll just go ahead and get it ripping. So, chapter 3, the pathway to Samatvam. Oh, crud, except for where'd my highlighter go? Oh, I bet that's what I accidentally kicked under this desk. I bet my cat was playing with it. Sure enough. Okay, easy fix. Now, let's go ahead and begin. So, chapter 3, the pathway to Samatvam. An aspirant who treads the path of Samatvam must make every effort to acquire the following essential qualities: discrimination, viveka, dispassion, vairagya, and the six virtues, shad sampat, and an intense desire for liberation, mumukshutva. In order to possess the virtue of Samatvam, he will also need to dedicate himself to steadying the mind every moment of his yoga career. Because if the mind is restless, not an iota of progress can be made in the attainment of this divine quality. All over the world, there are peace conferences, peace talks, and peace walks. They are no doubt laudable and beneficial, but unless we all consciously strive for equanimity through meditation, prayer, and other spiritual practices, no one in this world will be able to achieve true, everlasting peace of mind. To attain the state of Samatvam, the aspirant will have to prepare himself while living amongst all the ups and downs of life. Welcome in, everybody who's just coming in. If you're new, if you're just coming in, we're reading about yoga. Home 1919 says what? Well, that's what. If you're enjoying this content, be sure to hit the like button. A share, a subscribe is always nice, but Shoot, if all you got in you is a like, I'll take it. Okay. How can this preparation be made? Carefully study the words of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. In this magnificent dialogue between Lord Krishna and his disciple Arjuna, all the qualities of one who has attained the yoga of equanimity are given. In that description, the Lord also tells Arjuna the sadhana that leads to the yoga of equanimity, Samatvam. The pathway to Samatvam Yoga is a combination of four spiritual disciplines. One component is self knowledge or self inquiry, acquired through Gyan Yoga. Another part, I'll probably be highlighting that whole thing, so I'll start now. Another part lies in the way of action, Karma Yoga. The aspirant then requires the qualities of self restraint or control of the mind, which can be attained through the practices of Raja Yoga. Gyan Yoga removes the veil of ignorance and brings knowledge of the self. Raja Yoga steadies the mind. Karma Yoga removes the tossing of the mind. Through Bhakti Yoga, the aspirant adds faith and devotion. Faith and devotion will unite Gyan, Raja, and Karma Yogas. However, in the final analysis, the yogi of equanimity and steady wisdom must attribute all his actions to the divine, Ishvara or God. Therefore, faith is the divine ingredient required for the yoga of equanimity. Only with unflinching faith and sincere devotion to sadhana can an aspirant overcome all the obstacles on this difficult path. There you go. Faith is the name of the game. Don't they say that in chaos magic as well? Don't they say that in the majority of spiritual practices? Okay, so let's go ahead and highlight that part too. Might as well hit that last line as well. You know what? That's important. Okay, the pathway to Samatvam harmonizes wonderfully the philosophy of self knowledge, action, and devotion. One will need the head of Adi Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, the hands of King Janaka, and the heart of Lord Buddha. The three horses of this body chariot, intellect, action, and emotion, should work in perfect harmony. Only then will it move smoothly and reach its destination. Learn the methods from Gyan Yoga and Raja Yoga to subdue the senses and the mind, and try to practice concentration, meditation, and know thyself. Try to experience openness with the divine power by directing the mind to the Lord. Develop intense faith. Practice bhakti yoga. Learn to surrender to the will of God. Understand and practice the technique of selfless service or karma yoga and renunciation of the fruit of actions. Wow, that's like what Joan of Arc's the Saint Gretel Saint Joan of Arc just told us, right? The Lord enunciates the pathway to Samatvam when he tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, one who is full of faith, who is devoted to it, and who has subdued the senses obtains this knowledge, and having obtained the knowledge, he goes at once to the supreme peace. Following this pathway is certain to culminate in the yoga of equanimity. All three qualifications of self knowledge, faith, and selfless service are indispensable for every aspirant treading this path. One alone will not suffice. Only by perfecting all these qualities can the aspirant rejoice in the highest peace within, acquire the qualities of dispassion and discrimination, obtain the wisdom of the sixfold virtues, and attain the highest knowledge through introspection, concentration, and meditation. One will also need to excel as a karma yogi, and most importantly, have the yearning to become a yogi of the highest class. Samatvam yoga is not an easy process, but it will take the aspirant to the uppermost rung of spiritual life. Cool. And just like that, chapter 3 is done. Or echo, huh, Zero? Okie dokie. Take a drink and then we'll get it moving. Chapter 4: Discrimination and Dispassion. Discrimination. The first essential requisite for acquiring an equipoised mind is viveka, discrimination, between the real and the unreal. One in whom right reason has developed will be able to discriminate and enjoy peace and bliss. Sensual pleasure is tantalizing and excites the mind. Most people are swayed by emotions, passions, and impulses, and thus run wildly after every object they come in contact with. Their minds become full of anxieties and they become despondent as to whatever or not their desired objects will be, as to whether or not their desired objects will be secured. The moment they possess the objects, they find the satisfaction of the senses lasts for a few seconds only, and they must then seek for pleasures elsewhere to give them some peace of mind. Knowing no way out of this vicious cycle, they remain entangled in their search for pleasure. Their lives are constantly mixed with pain and anxiety from fear of losing the pleasurable objects. Wherever there is pleasure, pain, then anger and attachment will be found. Sheesh. How many of y'all played that game? It's all right. It's part of the human thing. How many of y'all are still playing that game? That's all right. In time, be patient with yourself. That last line, too. Wherever there is pleasure, pain, then anger and attachment will be found. Yikes. Dear aspirant, awaken from your hallucinations. Seek peace of mind. Owing to delusion, pain appears as pleasure, and the fear of pain worries you. There is no pleasure or pain for a discriminating mind. Learn to discriminate between the real and the unreal. The yoga of equanimity can be had only by one who has understood the worthlessness of perishable objects. The world is nothing to a viveki, a man of discrimination. He never becomes entangled in anything. Discrimination gives inner strength and mental peace. One who has found out the real worth of this world, who yearns for liberation, who has understood that beyond the names and forms there is one eternal, everlasting Atman, and who practices self discipline. He alone can have peace. Such a person is the King of Kings, not he who is simply carried away by a little color, by a touch and a little titillation. He who does not discriminate between the eternal and the non eternal, between the real and the unreal, is forever miserable with an unsteady, passionate mind. Whenever a desire arises in the mind, always consult your power of discrimination. It will at once tell you that the desire is attended with pain, that it is only a vain temptation set up by the mind, and that discrimination alone can bring about satisfaction and peace of mind. It will advise you to renounce the desire immediately and take up study of the Upanishads, repetition of Om, and reach for Samadhi. Desires will become extinct with the rise of discrimination. When desires cease, the mind becomes silent and stands still in perfect equipoise. Yeah, if you haven't read the Upanishads, you should definitely read the Upanishads. Maybe we will on here at some point, but it probably won't be anytime soon. So go find yourself a copy and read it in your own free time. You will not be upset that you did. A sincere aspirant must make every effort to control desires the moment they arise. Think deeply again and again whether the new desire will give you more happiness or more spiritual gain. Viveka will guide you to call upon your willpower and drive away the desire immediately. On the path of Samatvam, discrimination and willpower are two potent weapons to help destroy temptations and remove major and minor impediments. So I was in one of these Bihar books too, where they were making a reference. They were kind of telling a story about a bunch of birds who had been caught in a net, and the leader of the birds told them if they all work together with lift both their wings and fly at the same time, they'd be able to get free. And those wings symbolizing one being viveka, discrimination, and the other being vairagya, or non-attachment. When a desire arises in the mind, a worldling welcomes it and tries to fulfill it. But a sincere aspirant renounces it immediately through discrimination. Wise men consider even a spark of desire to be a great evil. They remain ever delighted in the Atman only. Their mind becomes steady. Every action is poised and harmonious. So there you go. There is your answer to evil, right? What is evil? Well, the wise men consider it even a spark of desire. Oh boy. Dispassion. From viveka, discrimination, is born vairagya, dispassion or non attachment. The second spiritual requisite for attaining even mindedness. It is the mind that links man with the body, and when man identifies with the body, all his miseries begin. He thinks of I-ness and mindness, which are the two poisonous fangs of the mind serpent. If these two fangs are extracted, the serpent mind will be tamed, and then there can be no bondage. Those who practice non attachment are the real tamers of their minds. Vairagya thins out the mind, acting as a drastic purgative. Non attachment is indifference or dispassion towards sensual objects. Attachment to objects is universal, and no one is free from attachment of one kind or another. Attachment is the first child of Maya, illusion, and her most powerful weapon, binding one to the endless wheel of birth and death. Sheesh, Maya, you did that to us? Well, it's kind of part of her job. So I guess we can't be mad at her. She's just doing a good job, the way God intended. We better get that one too. Attachment to objects is universal, and no one is free from attachment of one kind or another. Attachment is the root cause of all human suffering, the product of ignorance. The seeds of attachment are ingrained in the subconscious mind and have to be obliterated through right thinking, inquiry, and spiritual knowledge. All these illusory attachments have to be cut asunder with the sword of non attachment. Wherever there is strong attachment, infatuation and fear will be found. The cause of fear is attachment to this body and property. Attachment and fear destroy balance of mind and cause the emotions to swing wildly. When one is free from attachment to external objects, the mind will be at peace. The whole divine play of the Lord is kept up by the force of attachment to worldly life. What's the Sanskrit word for that is Leela. That's why one of Vishu's names, Lila Manu Shavigrahaya, I think is what it is he who takes a divine or a human form for divine play. Keep that in mind. Greed for possessions generates selfishness, which causes even greater attachment. However, the type of renunciation advocated on the pathway to Samatvam does not require one to renounce family life. Balance of mind has to be attained while living in the world, learning through the world without becoming enmeshed in it. Your duty is to maintain your household without getting attached to it. Only then will you have the purity of mind, which will enable you to progress towards perennial space. So there you have it yet again. The move is not go run away to India and sit in the Himalayas or sit in the cremation grounds. Nope, your duty is to maintain your household without getting attached to it. Easier said than done, but you know, we're all up to a challenge over here, right? The activities of daily life do not bring misery. It is attachment and identification with people, places, and events that brings all sorts of worries, troubles, and unhappiness. Work without attachment or identification. This attitude is the secret of success in karma yoga or selfless service. Only then can one have real happiness and peace of mind and attain God consciousness. This is Gyan, the fire of wisdom, which burns all the fruits of actions. Discipline the mind carefully. When old habits creep in, destroy them at the very root. Lead a life of perfect non attachment. This is the master key with which to open the realms of serenity, of mind, and eternal bliss. Luckily for all of us, the longest chapter of the ones we're going to read today, I pretty much already highlighted all of that one. So we won't have to slow down as we go through that one. Okay. The mind wreaks havoc and mischief. One may still rule a vast dominion and yet be unattached. Look at the exalted mental state of King Janaka, who was resting in his own essential divine nature. He said, even if the whole of Mithila is burnt, nothing of mine will be burnt. He had not the least attachment to his wealth and kingdom. The mind has to be trained daily in all its dealings and actions. Do not become attached to family and property. The world is like a public inn. People are united for some time and separated after some time. Never say, my body, my son, my wife, my house. Attachment takes various forms. Always be on the alert to detect its subtle workings. The mind tries its utmost to become attached to some form or other. Its nature is to leave one form and immediately cling to another. If the binding link in the mind is destroyed, one can roam about peacefully in any part of the world, unattached, like water on a lotus leaf. Nothing can bind you then. Dispassion is a mental state. Inner spiritual strength is born of dispassion. Develop intense internal dispassion by understanding the illusory nature of this world. Turn the mind towards God and practice daily mantra japa and meditation. Read the lives of great saints and yogis and books on Atmajnana, meditation, and the service of humanity. Take recourse to the company of saints and devotees. Oh, hang on, I might have skipped a page. Nope. Take recourse to the company of saints and devotees. Study Vedanta and Bhartrihari's Vairagya Shatakam. Lead a life of non attachment to this world. Vairagya is real spiritual wealth because it opens the door to equanimity, everlasting peace, and bliss. Undoubtedly, O mighty armed Arjuna, the mind is difficult to control and restless, but by practice and by dispassion, it may be restrained. These are the words of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. He recognizes that to work without attachment is doubtless a difficult task, but it becomes possible for an aspirant with the patience and determination to succeed in Samatvam sadhana. And there's the Swami right there. Thank you, Swami. These teachings are so amazing to have in your life. Such a blessing. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'm going to grab this drink over here real quick. Oh, did you grab that drink, hon? Okay, thank you. All right, then. Five, chapter five. This one's the longest one of the four we'll do today. All the others were like, yeah, 1, 2 pages. But as I said, this one's already highlighted mostly, so that shouldn't slow us down too much. Not that it really matters. Mostly, I just keep starting these a bit later than I want to. So then I'll be a little bit later getting to work than I want to. But Whatever. Quit resisting, Jay. Quit resisting nature. Okay, chapter 5, the sixfold virtues. The sixfold virtues, known as Shadsampat, are Shama, mental calmness and control, Dhamma, restraint of the senses, Apariti, sense withdrawal or pratyahara, Titiksha, endurance, Shraddha, faith, and Samadhana, mental balance. They are taken as one because they are calculated to bring about mental control and discipline. These six virtues are the third requisite for attaining Samatvam. Sixfold virtues, huh? What's this pop quiz, anyone? What's the sixth sphere on the tree of life? Well, sorry, not hardly anybody's here right now, but you can drop it in the comments later. To attain Samatvam, one must constantly struggle to purify and steady the mind. Armed with the sixfold virtues, the aspirant can be successful in stopping the fluctuations of the mind and eventually control it. If the mind is purged of its impurities and worldly taints, it will become exceedingly calm, free from differentiations such as I, you, and he. All tribulations, annoyances, and miseries will cease, and then worldly delusion, attendant with its births and deaths, will come to an end, and one will attain the supreme abode of peace. On one side of the mind is matter, and on the other side is the serenity of pure spirit, Atman. The mind forms a bridge between the two. Cross the bridge by controlling the mind, attain Samatvam by utilizing the wisdom of the sixfold virtues. Well, shoot, there's another little hint that syncs up with some Kabbalah, huh? Cross the bridge, cross the. Hmm. Okay, so one, Shama, calmness of mind. Shama, calmness and tranquility of mind, is most difficult to achieve, even for the most advanced yogi. However, with practice and dispassion, the mind will become calm as time goes by and gradually come under control. To attain Samatvam, an aspirant must remain cool and serene, even in the most provocative conditions and circumstances. Shama must be cultivated again and again through constant endeavor. Serenity is like a rock. Waves of irritation may dash on it but cannot affect it. A serene mind is a valuable spiritual asset, and for this, the world is a wonderful training ground. The divine light will descend only on a calm mind. Desire is the enemy of peace. Give up the feeling of I-ness and mindness, name and fame. Possessiveness strengthens the ego. Try not to fill your desires or expect anything. Overcome vicious desires by developing virtuous desires, and then destroy them by having one strong desire for steadiness of mind. Peace is in the heart of a desireless person who has controlled the senses of the mind. Practicing the yamas and niyamas, as expounded in Maharishi Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, will help to check all the desires, eliminate mental impurities, and attain mastery over the mind. The mind will become quiet. Pranayama destroys rajas and tamas, making the mind steady and one pointed. Once mental dispassion vanishes, the mind becomes balanced and very, very calm. The peace that you will enjoy cannot be adequately described. If you are easily carried away by surging emotions and impulses, if you are in the grip of moods, cravings, and passions, if you laugh for 5 minutes and weep for 5 hours, how can you claim the yoga of equanimity? Yeah, or claim that you're a magician. In this Kali Yuga, the easiest way to control the mind and emotions and attain serenity is kirtan, or singing the name of the Lord. Sattvic qualities of mind like sympathy, compassion, universal love, forgiveness, and spiritual patience should be cultivated to a very high degree. Bad habits can be eradicated by establishing new good habits. The lower instinctive mind has to be controlled by the higher sattvic mind. Moderating the diet and taking sattvic foods will calm the mind, whereas rajasic foods will excite the mind. Yeah, but check this out. I eat my spicy salsa with stale chips. Call that a sattvic diet, huh? Just kidding. I did do that recently because I got some homemade salsa, and then the only chips I had were a little bit on the stale side, but whatever. That definitely doesn't count as a sattvic diet. That might make one of these guys chuckle, but that's all it's meant to do. Silly little joke. Don't actually go around here making reels talking about your sattvic diet with stale chips and spicy salsa. Learn to control the mind so that the thoughts may always be calm and unruffled. Yeah, Libra 3. Do Libra 3. Do Libra 3. Go check it out. I read it on this channel. Go and put it into practice. ASAP, as in today or whenever you listen to this. That's going to be today for whenever you listen to this. So do it. Go do it after this. Sit alone and watch the wanderings of the mind. Remain as a witness and do not identify with the thoughts that come and go. The mind will gradually come under your control. By destroying the fuel of desire, the fire of thought will be extinguished. Do not compare yourself with others. Do not think of the past. Do not plan for the future. Do not allow the mind to build images. Live in the solid present. This allows the mind to become calm and still. Counter thoughts. Pratipaksha bhavana, the method of sustaining an opposite thought or counter thought, enables one to lead a happy, harmonious life of peace and power. Now, that is important. That is invaluable because we live in what kind of universe? A dualistic one, right? So, for every horrible thought you're having, the equal and opposite is true. Or for every wonderful thought or feeling you're having, again, the equal and opposite is true. So attain that equanimity, Samatvam, by what they call Pratipaksha Bhavana, the method of substituting an opposite thought or counter thought, enabling one to lead a happy, harmonious life of peace and power. A thought of love will at once neutralize a thought of hatred. A thought of courage will immediately serve as a powerful antidote against a thought of fear. Ideas create the world. Ideas develop the desires and excite the passions. So, a contrary idea of destroying desires and passions will counteract the former idea of satisfying them. When there is irritability, meditate on the virtues of tolerance and self restraint. If depressed, fill the mind with the idea of joy and exhilaration. When sick, fill the mind with ideas of health, strength, and vitality. This is a great sadhana. Worldly thoughts, thoughts of enmity, hatred, revenge, and anger will all die. Do not cause pain or suffering to any living being due to greed, selfishness, irritability, or annoyance. For an aspirant who is leading the divine life and aspiring to Samatvam, this is a very serious drawback. Control anger by meditating on patience. Man, all right, quick little digression. So, one of the goddesses I work with is Hecate, however you like to say it. And there was one time where she was like really drilling into my head, patience, patience, patience. And then later that day, my beloved goddess and I were out at the store, and we were getting a little frustrated because it had been like a long day. I don't know, we've been out and running errands and all that. We were getting a little frustrated. But we kept moving, doing what we needed to do. Turn the aisle, there was an employee over there, and we were having a hard time finding something, so that's part of why we were frustrated. And so we asked the girl about it, and she's like so sweet, you know. She, oh, right here, right over here. And I look on her name tag, patience. Her name was Paige. I said, "Is that your real name?" She said, "Yeah." I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't be, but also I know that I don't know. It seems a lot of people like to go by not their government name, not their given name. I mean, I'm one given name. I'm one to talk, right? I use this name on the internet. That's not the name I was born with. That's a little different though. But patience, patience. All that to say patience. Okay. Give up arguing and heated debates which upset one's balance of mind. When a wave of anger arises in the mind, stand as a witness and identify with the self. Practice self analysis and introspection. Ask, who am I? What do I gain by becoming angry? The self is an embodiment of peace. When you inquire and reflect in this manner, the wave of anger will die. Right? Isn't that what Maharaj says to ask all the time? To ask yourself over and over again, who am I? Who am I? Okay, the wave of anger will die by itself. By striving and making a sincere effort to subdue your anger, hatred will also cease. Do not express anger, but try to control it. Cut short its duration by turning the mind to japa, singing kirtan, or any other pleasant and inspiring occupation. One who has controlled anger acts with equipoise. Control of speech. Control, man, this is really just so synchronistic with Libra 3. Go do Libra 3. Coop TGS, what's up? Welcome, fam. Coop says, what are we reading? It's called Samatvam, the Yoga of Equanimity. Okay, controlling speech. Controlling the speech has to be practiced to attain quick progress in the yoga of equanimity. Four attributes need to be combined. One's words must be non exciting and non painful, truthful, pleasant, and beneficial at the same time. Avoid impulsive, emotional utterances and boisterous expressions. The organ of speech is a restless sense, so think before you speak. The words of a person who practices speech control bring cheer and solace to others. Perfect control over speech means control of the mind. Otherwise, thoughtless words will disturb your mind and the minds of others. Speak the truth at any cost, in a way that is not calculated to hurt feelings of others. Know the power of each word uttered and the effect it will produce on the mind of others. Observing mauna, measured speech, for a couple of hours daily will develop willpower and remove anxieties. A new type of inner peace will then be experienced. One who weighs his words before expressing them will have great peace of mind. Lord Jesus was a sage who measured words in his speech. Mahatma Gandhi was also a man of measured speech. A talkative person cannot dream of having peace of mind even for a short time. Control of speech conserves energy and gives peace of mind and inner strength. Yeah, and Crowley even said Karanzan, the demon of the abyss, was one of, well, at least I think one of the ways is manifested as just constant babbling, basically, just like nonstop, nonsensical speech and words, and so if you find yourself doing that, then boy, you might be infected slightly with the demon Karanzan. That's all right. We've got the keys right here between Uncle Al and the dear Swamis. We've got the keys to go ahead and lock that bugger up. Okay. It is very, very difficult to understand another person's mind, even someone you have known closely for years. It is also very difficult to understand one's own mind. If you really want to eradicate the unbalanced habits and traits of your character, you will have to be in close contact with a developed yogi or with your guru for some years. You cannot detect your own defects. Those who have freed themselves from the fluctuation of their minds come into possession of supreme calmness. One who has controlled his mind is a true hero. When the mind is purged of all its impurities, it will become very calm and worldly delusions will soon be eradicated. That is peace of mind. Two, Dhamma, restraint of the senses. Dhamma is mental control of the senses. The senses can be subdued through the constant practice of self restraint. Freed from all kinds of sensual cravings, likes and dislikes, attraction and repulsion. one can possess evenness of mind. Only those who have stilled the mind are neither elated nor troubled when they get desirable or undesirable objects. For a sincere aspirant, discipline of the senses is a very important sadhana. Such an aspirant needs to watch every sense carefully and curb it through suitable methods such as fasting, observing silence, tritaka, celibacy, renouncing sense objects, observing self restraint, and pratyahara. Curbing the senses means curbing the mind. The senses cannot work independently without the direct help of the mind. Through introspection, find out which sense is troubling you and curb it carefully. Give up the objects which that particular sense tries to grasp. Overcome cravings by taking only what is necessary for healthy survival. Then you will be established in supreme peace. Many aspirants fail to attain Samatvam due to the restlessness of a particular sense organ. Observing silence controls the organ of speech. Practicing Tritaka, gazing at a point, will help to control our eyes. When the eyes run toward objects of beauty, withdraw them and fix them at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. When the ears run to listen to worldly sounds and music, train them to hear the name Narayana. Om Namo Narayana. Oh, baby, yeah. Give up salt and sugar for a week, and living on simple food will help to control the tongue, the organ of taste. Sleeping on a hard mat and walking barefooted helps to discipline the skin, the organ of touch. Fix the mind on your Ishta Devata. Bring it back again and again when it wanders and fix it on the image. And that Ishta Devata, that's just going to be your primary deity you work with. So whoever that might be, whoever, if you had to put one as a number one, that's your Ishta Devata. Bring it back again and again when it wanders and fix it on the image. This is the sadhana for checking the wandering mind and developing concentration. By constant, regular practice, one can steadily fix the mind on God. One who has disciplined the senses has a strong will and peace of mind. Higher spiritual sadhana is not possible without restraint of the senses. Discrimination. To understand the significance of self restraint, a more comprehensive view of the senses must be taken. Human beings are given these senses together with the superior faculty of discrimination, and the senses must operate under its wise supervision. The ultimate aim of self restraint is not denial of the senses, but the achievement of a state of existence a millionfold greater than the experience of sense gratification. Stop right now to highlight that. The ultimate aim of self restraint is not denial of the senses, but achievement of a state of existence a millionfold greater than the experience of sense gratification. For the spiritual aspirant, self restraint is not a matter of repression, but a joyous, voluntary discipline undertaken for the acquisition of a perfectly balanced and steady mind. That is the highest view that the sages uphold for spiritual aspirants. Yoga recommends appropriate restraint of the senses to achieve the yoga of equanimity and their proper utilization for the welfare of all God's creation. The tongue can repeat the Guru stotras, the ears can hear the shrutis and other spiritual texts. The unlimited potentialities of the senses are to be harnessed for the greater good. Viewed from this angle, the aspirant is asked not to starve and to destroy the mind and senses, but really to strengthen them and utilize them for his own spiritual evolution. Well, well, well. Viewed from this angle, the aspirant is asked not to starve and destroy the mind and senses, but really to strengthen them and utilize them for his own spiritual evolution. Ultimately, the senses are to be consecrated at the feet of the Lord for his service alone. Better highlight that too. Shoot, what did Joan of Arc tell us, huh? What did any sage or yogi or magician worth their weight tell us? That exact thing. Those who are content with whatever comes their way have strong minds and tremendous self restraint. A contented mind is a very great virtue. It is one of the four sentinels of the vast domain of moksha, liberation. If you have this virtue, it will lead to the attainment of equipoise. Take everything as it comes, instead of complaining. That's what Marcus Aurelius said. Seize every opportunity. In this way, a great deal of mental strength and evenness of mind is gained, and the power of endurance and patience is developed. Make use of outer disturbances and noise for the practice of concentration. Develop the power to remain undisturbed no matter what happens. This power comes with practice. Learning to work under changing conditions means progress and a great deal of mental control. The practice of contentment is a sattvic virtue that propels the aspirant towards God. It gives strength of mind and peace, checks unnecessary and selfish exertions, opens the inner eye, and moves the mind towards divine contemplation. A contented person is always peaceful, more energetic, introspective, and steady of mind. He recognizes the inner life of the Atman within. He turns out more work calmly and with a one pointed mind. Contentment emboldens an aspirant to march fearlessly along the rugged and thorny path of Samatvam. Moderation. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna prescribes this path of moderation. Yoga becomes the destroyer of pain for one who is moderate in eating and recreation, such as walking, etc., who is moderate in exertion and actions, who is moderate in sleep and wakefulness. Moderation is really self restraint. Moderation is equanimity, it is skill in yoga. Be moderate in eating, drinking, sleeping, reading, laughing, talking, and exercise. Overeating causes drowsiness and overtaxes the internal organs. Too much sleep makes one dull and lazy. Too much sexual activity drains the energy. Too much talking disturbs one's peace of mind and causes exhaustion. If one overworks, one cannot concentrate. Sadhana also needs to be well regulated and suited to one's temperament. What is needed is strong mental dispassion, born of a strong discrimination. Have intense dispassion internally, and at the same time follow the middle path externally. Do not unbalance the mind or spoil the body in the name of austerities. Balance of mind cannot be attained by going to extremes. Only when Lord Buddha gave up extreme austerities and regulated his spiritual practices did he attain illumination. Therefore, to attain equanimity of mind, lead a well regulated and disciplined life and be moderate in everything. Then composure can be maintained at all times. Uparti. 3. Uparti, sense withdrawal. Uparti is the turning away of the mind from objects of sensual desire and enjoyment. It is a state of mind which is always engaged inwardly without being diverted, and it comes naturally when one has grasped viveka, vairagya, shama, and dhamma. By perfecting pratyahara, one will attain the state of aparati and gain great control over the mind. Pratyahara is withdrawal of the senses from sense objects. The practice of pratyahara puts a break or check on the senses. Regular practice will stop the outgoing tendencies of the senses. The outgoing senses will have to be dragged away from sensual objects and the mind fixed on one's point of concentration. Learn to drag the senses greatly. Practice withdrawal of the senses one by one. Deal with the most turbulent sense first, and then take up another sense organ. And that's the exact same advice I gave on doing that Libra 3. When you go do that, just start with one. I mean, you don't have to go in order. You can go in order. But Crowley says to control speech, to control action, and to control thought. Start with one category once you feel you have a pretty good grasp on that, which isn't going to be in one day or probably even 1 week, even though he says, do it for a week, but that's because that's going to be enough time to kind of start to make a habit out of it. But you're going to need a couple weeks at least, and probably by a good month of doing that, you'll see, wow, yep, I've really started to get this more and more dialed in. Don't stop there. Keep going. Like the Swami says, like Crowley says, we are trying to lock that in completely and fully, not just partially. Let's see. Oh boy, that's what happened when I stop in the middle of something. There we go. Trying to manipulate all the senses at the same time will not lead to success. If the aspirant is not careful, if his dispassion wanes, and if he is not regular in his sadhana, a reaction sets in. The senses become more turbulent and control becomes very difficult. Dispassion and renunciation help in the practice of pratyahara. If one succeeds in this practice, concentration comes by itself. If you can consciously practice pratyahara at will by deliberately attaching and detaching the mind to and from the senses, you have really gained great control over the mind and can then check the outgoing tendencies of the mind at any time. Welcome in if you're just coming in. Good to have you here. Generally, people jump to the practice of concentration without practicing pratyahara at the beginning. That is the reason why they fail in concentration and then cannot proceed to meditation practices. However, one who has succeeded in pratyahara can concentrate the mind quite readily for a for a very long time. Pratyahara is a very important state of mind. It is the stepping stone to samatvam, equipoise of mind. All right, 4. Titiksha, endurance. Titiksha, or the power of endurance, develops the willpower. The ability to face difficulties with calm endurance in pleasure and pain, heat and cold, is one of the most essential qualifications for an aspirant on the path of samatvam. Do not lose heat in adverse do not lose heart in adverse circumstances, but endure them with a smiling countenance. Become a real warrior and conquer the enemies within the mind, the senses, desires, impressions, and cravings, those forces which have robbed you of your atmic jewel of equipoise. The spiritual battlefield demands greater valor, patience, perseverance, strength, courage, and skill than the battlefield in the outer world. Every difficulty that comes is an opportunity to grow stronger. Shout out my gnosis. And to develop the will. When you have decided to take to the spiritual path, stick to it at any cost, come what may. Do not murmur or grumble when troubles and sorrows descend, but endure them. Difficulties strengthen the will, augment the power of endurance, and turn the mind towards God. Face them with a smile. In your weakness lies your real strength. Nothing can harm you. You are invincible. Conquer difficulties one by one. Endurance is one of the divine qualities that Lord Krishna explained to Arjuna in simple terms in the Bhagavad Gita. The contact of the senses with objects which cause sensations of heat and cold, pleasure and pain, have a beginning and an end. They are impermanent. Endure them bravely, O Arjuna. The firm man who is not afflicted by these, who is balanced in pleasure and pain, is fit to attain immortality. Mothra, welcome in. Good to see you. Good to have you here. Hope you're having a great day. Titiksha by itself cannot give equanimity. But when coupled with discrimination, dispassion, and faith, it becomes a means to attain steady wisdom. The one thought, I am the immortal self, will infuse courage and inner spiritual strength and enable you to endure everything. Cultivate endurance, right thought, and right action. Thinking that you are the immortal self is right thinking. Working unselfishly and dispassionately with the feeling that you are serving the Lord in all, that all your actions are worship of Him, is right action. Exert, practice endurance, concentrate, purify, meditate. Do not become a fatalist. Do not yield to inertia. Wait, what's that? Do not become a fatalist. Uh that could be a good reminder for certain friends of mine. All right, let's continue. Do not yield to inertia. Do not bleat like a lamb. Roar, om, like a lion of Vedanta. If the power of endurance is developed, if one thinks that everything is done by God for one's own betterment, if painful events are viewed as messengers from God to make one remember Him and to infuse more mercy and the power of endurance, suffering will not be suffering anymore. Only with this divine outlook on life will constant, perpetual serenity of mind be enjoyed, even amidst great turmoil and calamities. Have a new angle of vision. You will see no necessity for selfish worldly struggles to accumulate wealth, no need of name and fame. Greed, hatred, and turmoil will then disappear completely. You will be free from all pain and torment. This is not only the philosophy of the Stoics or the teaching of the pessimists, it is a condition of right knowledge. It is wonderful optimism that goads the aspirant on to realize the deep, abiding eternal joy and unruffled peace of the self within. Remember that you are the master of your destiny. You can also work wonders and miracles if you apply yourself to spiritual sadhana. Surely, success in the yoga of Samatvam is bound to manifest if you decide to endure everything that arises in your spiritual quest. Have full trust and confidence in the divine. Tat Twam Asi. Thou art that. 5. Shraddha, faith. Shraddha is faith. Faith is the greatest thing in the world. Not an iota of progress is ever possible on the spiritual path without faith. If one has no faith in the world does not exist. If there is no faith in sensual objects, they will not give pleasure. Man lives and is guided by faith. Whatever a person strongly believes in, he experiences and becomes. Those who have no faith in God do not know what is right and wrong. They lose their power of discrimination. When faith is directed to God, it becomes the cause of liberation. Faith in God is the first step towards Samatvam. This path is fraught with struggles against the senses and the temptations and desires that arise in the mind. Discrimination, complete dispassion for mundane things, self restraint, tranquility of mind, and a strong yearning for liberation are the prerequisites for attaining Samatvam. Divine wisdom and expert guidance are required to purify the heart, to become simple and straightforward. Therefore, every aspirant on the path of Samatvam must possess faith as his fundamental virtue. The faith must be a living faith, unflinching and unshakable, if the aspirant is to overcome the forces of delusion that surround him. Whenever doubts assail you, reject them ruthlessly. Abandon all sorts of wrong beliefs, superstitions, weaknesses, wrong notions, and ideas of impossibilities. Cling fast to faith in divine possibilities. Have faith in divine life. Faith is omnipotent. Always feel the help of the invisible hands of God during worldly activities. The Lord is always with you, watching all your activities and thoughts. Aspire fervently and constantly to live in the divine. The voice of the mind will delude you, but the voice of the soul will uplift you and take you to the goal. Only by placing implicit faith in the existence of God and the teachings of one's guru, in the Vedas, and in one's own self can one successfully tread this path of Samatvam. The path to Samatvam is difficult, and therefore you will need the guidance of the great gurus who have walked the path successfully. Search for your guru with faith, and then approach that sage in a spirit of humility and devotion. His help, personal example, encouragement, and grace are a need to attain success in sadhana. One who reverentially seeks the guidance of a guru will be blessed. The mind cannot but recognize the silence and stillness in the company of divine people. If God so wished, he could give equanimity to every single person in the world in an instant. But this form of God's grace will descend only on those who prepare themselves to receive it. You mean that everybody talking about that we're all gonna upgrade the 5D consciousness overnight? Don't know what they're talking about? Dang, Swami. His grace descends in proportion to the degree of the devotee's surrender. The more the surrender, the more the grace. So, dear aspirant, be up and doing. Persevere. Only then will the Lord shower his grace of serenity upon you. God will lift us out of the ocean of worldly existence if we fix our minds on him unswervingly, with devotion, and worship him with undivided attention. Remembrance of God at all times continuously is a very difficult sadhana, yet the most potent and the surest way of attaining equanimity. The mind is Maya, it deludes and misleads. Pain appears as pleasure. The mind charged with attraction, repulsion, anger, and jealousy is a blazing furnace. Faith in God is the only way to free ourselves from birth, death, old age, disease, and grief, from care, worry, anxiety, fear, and disappointment. Worldly powers of fame, name, and fortune will never give everlasting happiness. Feel that the Lord's supreme power does everything. We are all his instruments. Whosoever surrenders his selfish aims and interests to the will of the Lord will enjoy supreme peace and perennial bliss. Let the hands be ever engaged in service of the Lord. Let the mind be ever thinking of his glories. Let the intellect discriminate correctly. Then the soul will ever be in peaceful union with the Lord. Amen. 6. Samadhana. Samadhana refers to mental balance and self-settledness of mind. It's the fruit of the practice of shama, dhamma, aparati, tiksha, and shraddha. Samadhana is fixing the mind on the Atman and not allowing it to run towards sense objects. When the mind wanders from contemplation to a worldly object and finds it worthless, it returns to its object of contemplation and tries to stay there, as it is satisfied with the self. This is samadhana. And that sounds a lot like what Maharaj says. Almost basically 100% exactly what Maharaj says. Samadhana is the state of mind which is free from anxiety amidst difficulties and indifferent among pleasure. Such an aspirant is quite indifferent to the world as he is very much attracted to the self. Without union with the self, neither harmony nor balance nor samadhi is possible. If the mind tastes the eternal bliss of the self within, little by the practice of concentration, it will gradually abide in the self only and not run towards external sense objects. Attainment of samadhana is the result of the practice, and realization of sama, dhamma, aparati, titiksha, and shraddha. It is a refined state of mind. Ignorance, avidya, which is the cause of exhilaration, grief, and bondage to worldly existence, will need to be destroyed through knowledge of the self. By understanding the illusory nature of objects of sensual pleasure, by cultivating discrimination between the real and the unreal, and also by dispassion, and by making the mind understand the glory and splendor of the self, the mind can be weaned away entirely from sensual pleasure and fixed firmly on the self. Develop dispassion, patience, and perseverance to the maximum. Have unshakable faith in the existence of God and in the efficacy of spiritual practices. Such a goal requires strong determination and the power of endurance. Samadhana is an accomplishment gained over several lives from prolonged sadhana. Hear that? Samadhana is an accomplishment gained over several lives from prolonged sadhana. So keep that in mind too, is that for a good chunk of you, yeah, you really probably have put in already some lifetimes worth of work. So congratulations. One who experiences the state of samadhana can almost savor the peace of Samatvam yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna describes the perfectly controlled mind, the mind with settledness. When the perfectly controlled mind rests in the self only, free from longing for all objects of desires, then it is said he is united, harmonized, or balanced. Tame the five-hooded serpent, which we see in the image of which deity? For anybody who's here rocking and may or may not know that. That's all right. I'll keep reading. And if anybody's in here and knows what deity is often seen with that serpent, holler at me. A steady mind is not a commodity that can be purchased in the market. It is a rare hidden treasure guarded by a five-hooded serpent. Unless this serpent is tamed, one cannot have access to that treasure. The treasure is the yoga of equanimity, Samatvam, which is the spiritual wealth of a perfectly balanced mind. Mathra comes in with the correct answer, Vishnu. Heck yeah, Vishnu reclines on the cosmic serpent. That's his recliner. I love the way Buddha also, yeah, but that's an incarnation of Vishnu, or at least I think most of them consider Buddha to be an incarnation of Vishnu. Same with Krishna. Um, I love the way they word things. You know what I mean? Like when you look into some of the names, like if you look at the 108 names, there's definitely one. Oh, I can't think of the whole thing right now. Shesha something, which is talking about Vishnu who reclines upon the cosmic serpent. He ain't fighting with that serpent. He's not ever in struggle with that serpent. He's relaxing on that thing. He's kicking back and at peace of mind. The serpent is the mind. The five hoods are the senses through which the mind serpent hisses. Discipline and purification of the mind and the senses are prerequisites for an aspirant on the path of Samatvam. If you are able to curb egoism and selfishness, if you are not swayed by likes and dislikes, If you have equal vision, a broad heart, and an open mind, if you possess a sterling character and good manners under all circumstances, if you value the need of others above your own, and if your mind is ever engaged in contemplation of His all pervading presence, then you can assure yourself that you are definitely on the path of Samatvam. Unless the mind is tamed so that one can cast off all desires, cravings, worries, delusion, pride, attachment, likes, and dislikes, it cannot enter into the domain of supreme peace and unalloyed felicity of the immortal abode. There is no other vessel on this earth on which one the ocean of samsara other than mastery of the antagonistic mind. Only those who have controlled the serpent of the mind will reach the realm of equanimity. The aspirant who is full of faith and devotion and has subdued the senses surely realizes transcendental knowledge and attains the yoga of equanimity. In that ultimate state of peace, all pains are extinguished. The aspirant will be released from bondage to actions. He will become immortal and obtain divine wisdom. His mind will be calm and remain ever balanced. He will neither rejoice on obtaining what is pleasant, nor feel sorry on obtaining what is unpleasant. He will have happiness beyond the reach of the senses. When established in Samatvam Yoga, the yoga of equanimity, he will not be shaken even by heavy sorrow. He will be ever established in divine consciousness. He will become one with God and attain eternal, infinite, unbroken bliss. Through his grace, may you attain supreme bliss, supreme peace, and supreme knowledge. There's the Swami with the chariot on which Krishna and Arjuna have their conversation. Okay, this chapter we're going to do. So that's just it for chapter 5. Chapter 6 here is literally just these 2 half pages. And then 7 is short, but like I said, I got to get to work. So we're going to wrap it up there. 4 chapters is pretty good for one session. And so far we're just over an hour. So I like that. And Mothra says, it makes sense that the mind is represented as a serpent. It constantly changes as the serpent sheds its skin. Yo, ho, sick. I love that. That's an awesome thought to have, right? Serpents molt, as well as spiders, right? And spiders sometimes are interpreted as that too, because they're weavers. You know what I mean? They weave the web of the mind, and they also molt. Okay, 6. Momuk Shuttva. Mumukshutva is intense longing for liberation. An equipoised mind is hard to attain, but success comes to those who dare and act. It seldom comes to the timid. Since intense longing is essential, spiritual life is a continuous struggle against one's own lower nature. Yet, when purified, the lower self feels a mighty urge for expansion into its essential nature of absolute serenity and silence. Realize more and more your true, essential, peaceful nature. The more you yearn to turn over a new leaf and lead a pure divine life, the more opportunities will come. Have one all consuming aspiration. Pray to the Lord from the bottom of your heart. Attain inner peace and live in inner peace. Keep your Godward aspiration ever alive. Every aspirant must develop a fervent desire for God, as this one strong desire to attain self realization will destroy all other worldly desires. The strength of one's longing should be the invincible strength born of wisdom and discrimination between the real and the unreal, born of one's sincerity and wholehearted dedication to the yoga of equanimity. Be prepared to sacrifice everything. How then can one fail to attain the highest state of tranquility? How then can the aspirant fail to become the highest yogi? Spiritual yearning must be real and lasting. Only then can one have spiritual progress and be able to stick to the path. Oh, yeah, page 49, the last page of the day. A life of sadhana must become a passion, so be firm in your vows and fiery in your determination. Every failure is a movement towards success. Every difficulty or disappointment is a trial of your faith. Be a hero and win the spiritual battle. Spiritual sadhana is uphill work and requires tremendous patience and perseverance. The mind is now annoyed. The mind is now annoyed and now quiet. Never yield to it. Be serene, balanced, and steady. Overcome whatever obstacles come in the way through self effort, faith, and surrender. Adaptability and an iron will can turn all obstacles into stepping stones. Be a light unto yourself. Calmly bear insults, privations, and sufferings. Be harmonious everywhere with everybody. Act nobly, live peacefully, endure pain. There is nothing comparable with peace in this world. Therefore, carry on your spiritual practices with unabated zeal, and you are bound to succeed. Blessed is the earnest aspirant who possesses an adamantine will to attain spiritual value. All right. Be a light unto yourself. I like that for sure. Be prepared to sacrifice everything. I like that for sure. Okay, so that's going to do it for today's reading. I hope those of you who were rocking with me, Mothra, Coop TGS, you popped in. I know the one true goddess has been hanging out, just not in the chat. So thank you all. I appreciate your company very much. I appreciate your contributions. I love that what you said, Mothra, about serpent being the mind and it constantly sheds its skin. So let's hope that as we shed those skins, we shed the things that we have just read and learned about and regrown a new skin that helps us to remain ever steadfast in the divine grace of the Lord, in the true jnani or knowledge of the self. All right. Well, that's going to do it. So much love to you all. This has been Jay Baldell here for another session of Samatvam. We'll probably continue tomorrow, most likely. And we should probably wrap this one up pretty quick. I hope you're all having a great day. If you're not, I hope it becomes whatever you need to quit resisting to really obtain Samatvam. Because it's supposed to be a challenge. It's not supposed to be easy. Anybody who told you I can't think Wesley in Princess Diaries says, life is pain, princess. Anybody who tells you different is selling you something. Yep. Okay. So much love. Have a good weekend, everybody. Have a good weekend in the sense that it will bring you closer to harmony with the divine grace of the Lord. And we'll catch you on the next read. Bye bye. Oh, yeah. Be sure to hit a like, share, and a subscribe if you're brand new. And thank you for joining us if you're brand new. Okay. Bye bye.